All right, guys, welcome back. We are here for another episode of The Reminder Remedy, and today's guest is Kaila O'Connor. Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm so good. Thank you for having
I'm
me.
like loving your whole backdrop. It's super clean. So I'm very excited to be here. Me and Kaila have had to reschedule, I think, 2 times before this. The last time, my toddler literally ripped my fingernail out of the nail bed. As you see, I wear like my nails long. And so he loves to like wrestle in the morning when I'm trying to get him dressed. And literally the shirt just like ripped my nail off. It was like the most painful thing. And I've been wearing acrylic since I was in high school. Never have I ever had these issues. So thank you for the flexibility. And I am back in commission. So glad to be here. Y'all, today we're in for a treat. We're going to be talking human design, which is like the first time we've talked about it on the podcast. I am fairly new to it, but I do have a coaching client who she got like her human design reading. And she came to her session one day, just trying to kind of explore some thoughts around her results. And so, of course, that led me down a rabbit hole of like, what is this? You know, because I'm like going through her report with her. And so I was just like super fascinated. So we're going to get into that. So before we do, I'm going to kind of give you guys a little bit of her background. So it was in 2019 when Kaila moved to San Diego for her dream career in public relations. What appeared to be her dream moved left. What appears to be her dream move left her with crippling anxiety in the presence of a work environment that did not align with who she was. She quit just 3 months later. In full-fledged self-discovery mode, Kaila found human design. She immersed herself in its teachings and quickly became a certified human design reader. Reconnecting with her projector design type, Kaila began to personally and professionally embody her energetic alignment in business. After a decade-long PR career filled with panic attacks, burnout, and low worth, Kaila self-funded KMO Consulting in December of 2020. KMO Consulting is the first agency to offer live affiliate PR training for industry professionals, where her team guides PR agency owners in affiliate PR and has trained more than 80 Condé Nast editors in affiliate marketing, all while ensuring she and her team operate in pure energetic alignment. So we love all things alignment over here. So I feel like when I was reading, reading up on like your company, first of all, kudos to you for a pandemic baby that you had, right? So many of us had to kind of pivot. Some of us didn't make it out, so to birth a baby and kind of get that realignment. We've had previous guests, I think it was Whitney X, who also has a PR agency, and she talked about the burnout that comes, with that field. And so I want to first understand, I'm not going to say first, but 2 things I know for sure is I want to know what affiliate PR is, because I've never heard of that lane. And then, of course, we got to get into human design.
Yes, so, of course.
Give us a little bit of your real story, right? So we kind of have like your rags to riches, whatever, but like when you think about maybe, some of the most defining moments, even in childhood to now, like what stands out as you kind of return to self?
Okay. There's a lot of avenues we could go down, but I will say probably my most defining moment was in September of 2019. That's kind of when things shifted. Prior to 2019, and I was 29 at the time, so I was approaching my Saturn return. I had just gotten out of a over 3-year abusive relationship with another female in a very small LGBT community. And so I was in a place mentally and emotionally where I had nothing to lose. I moved across the country. I got what I thought was my dream job. A dream job doesn't really exist or fix anything, right? If you don't heal internally and within yourself. And the majority of my friends remained friends with my ex. And so I had to kind of step away from a lot of things and shed a lot of things. So 3 months into this new kind of PR career, I was like, but I'm in a new city. I'm out of that relationship. Like, why am I still feeling this way? And what I realized is it's an internal job. Like it starts inside first, and then like if something's off inside, it's going to be reflected and triggered in all areas of your life, whether it's low worth, burnout or whatnot. And so I remember being like 3 months into this job and just telling my mom, like, I feel like I'm dying inside. Like my anxiety, my root chakra is so bad. I became a Reiki practitioner, level 1 and 2 during that time too, because I was like, I need to heal myself from like just chronic anxiety. I was driving to a conference, and this, now we're up to speed to September 2019. I was driving to a conference and I was listening to a To Be Magnetic podcast interview with Jenna Zoe and Lacey Phillips. And that's when human design found me. And I was like, what is this? I've been listening about manifestation. I've been curious. I'm literally an egg cracked open. Like, give me anything that you can give me to feel good at this point. And I pulled over and I looked up what I was, and I found out I was a projector, which we'll get into that. But basically what a projector is everything that, how we're supposed to operate is everything that's opposite to the PR career. And we are non-energy types. But that doesn't mean that we're limited. We attract things. We do things more efficiently. And so in my mind, I'm like, I pitch media, I go after things. It's a very do masculine driven type of job. And the next day I walked into my office and I quit at 8 a.m. I had previously drained my 401k because I was like, I know I'm going to get to this breaking point at some point. So I need some money in my bank account. I think it was like $4,000. What is that? 2 months worth of living in LA. So I was like, all right, like I'm just going to quit because this is like just validation. I felt so seen and scared and validated, all the feelings. And within 24 hours of quitting that job, I received my first invite as a projector. It doesn't make sense. This shit doesn't make sense. And it was a text message from an acquaintance looking for someone who did freelance PR. And it happened to be in a monthly retainer amount that covered all of my bills within 24 hours of me just quitting that corporate job.
Come on.
So that,
yes.
Yeah, that to
that.
me. Yeah, I was like, okay, universe, I'm dialed in. I'm dialed in. I'm listening now.
Yeah. Okay, so I think that we'll have to start with just human design, right? Because we're going to be talking the language in everything. So assuming nobody has heard of this, right? What is human design?
Yep, human design was created by a man named Ra in actually the 1980s. So it's pretty new. And it's a culmination of multiple things. If you look at a human design kind of body chart, is what it's called, body graph, you will see similar things like chakras. You will see references to astrology signs on the side of it. At its core, it's an individual, it's a soul's energetic blueprint. It by looking at it and embodying it, it shows you how you're supposed to output your energy, how you're supposed to attract, where you absorb the most wisdom from outside energy, where your strengths are. And it basically is your energetic blueprint of how you contribute and operate in the world.
So how does it differ from astrology?
Yeah, great question. So I think the way that there are a lot of commonalities. There's a ton of commonalities. If you look at a natal chart, like the planet's alignment of the time and the date that you were born, and your human design chart, there's a lot of commonalities. What I love about astrology is there's movement. The energy is dependent on where the planet's placements are, if they're in retrograde, all the things. And so there's awareness of how your energy is being affected by this time and day. And then how do you move through it and take care of yourself, referencing your internal energetic makeup and needs.
And so can you tell us a little bit about why Ra decided that we needed this new blueprint, or kind of how it came about?
The origin story, I will tell you, I and this is an aspect of human design, I don't have a 1 in my profile, which is how you learn. I'm an Aries sun as well. So you give me a book and I'll read like two chapters and put it down. So when it comes to the origin story, I don't know a ton about it, to be completely honest, but I do know it was facilitated in a group of people. It was in the 80s and it was pure like channeled messaging. If anyone's interested in diving more into it, like have at it, enjoy. But what really resonates with me was how I was able to apply like my chart to my everyday actions. It feels very applicable to where sometimes astrology can get lost in translation. It's hard to be like, okay, I'm an Aries, now what? Mm-hmm. Whereas in human design, I know being a projector, which is one of 5 types, I can absolutely break it down as much as you want. But I know, knowing that I'm a projector, that I'm not supposed to go after things. Mm-hmm. I'm being supported by waiting for the invitations. So how that's applied in my business is every single new client I've received has come through a referral. Mm-hmm. I was invited to leave my last job by a client to start my business. Everything that I've done, my very first training client was a DM in my Instagram, my Camo Consulting Instagram account that had 98 followers. Mm-hmm. I had my first training client before I even had the materials. So it just relieves the pressure of the doing and the shoulds, mm-hmm. that business strategies, how to, it kind of lets me ignore that and push it to the side.
Because you kind of have an understanding of like how you best receive or work, right? Like the way that and the origin story is kind of like woo-woo. So y'all are going to have me, and I'm just thinking about my listeners, which I would say 99% of my listeners are Christian. And so, if they're going to hear something and they're like, okay, a message came to somebody in the spirits and, it was like, I was like, oh my God, this is not going to resonate with my audience. But what I will say, and anybody who's been following me knows that, I just have a unlimited appreciation for philosophy, for development, for evolution. And, my life's work and my journey has always been this return to self, which looks like outwardly the form of constant self-development, self-help out in Barnes and Nobles. But speaking of, natal charts and birth charts, when I finally was able to sit down and get my reading, from the astrology standpoint, it became very clear that my journey in my life was always what it was supposed to be, right? So it's like, mm-hmm. whether it was the challenges or the type of work that I do, me being, a coach or in this lane, I just got certified as a coach 2 years ago, but I've always been doing this type of work, right? Mm-hmm. So it gave a lot of affirming knowledge around when you are aligned, things come easier, right? And so when I did my human design chart reading, a lot of it really did match, like my birth chart reading. Like it was almost identical without like the labels and the extra degree of application, right? Because I think that when it comes to astrology, you do have to be very meticulous around understanding how to apply it. Whereas in human design, I felt like there were a way more bullet points, for lack of a better term, on like, okay, if you fall in this is what these type of environments are going to look at, right? So mm-hmm. I say all that to say, if you're listening to this and you're like, okay, where do I start, right? The first part is just like not feeling like, okay, I have to be one way versus the other in terms of how I look at how I move in the world, right? Like for me, it's like, I'm going to take in and I decide how I want to use these things, not, oh, now I'm a follower of Ra and his human design, So.
Yeah, totally. And I think at the end of the day, all these things exist because different people resonate with different things. Yeah. And the core root is just to be a good human, spread love, serve in the way that you need to. Like my sister and I, we have grown so much closer now. And I consider myself a Christian, spiritual, open. I'm a very curious human. Yeah. And she's a very dedicated, beautiful Christian. And I always kind of lead with, we're saying the same thing, just speaking a different language. Like our root purpose and desire is rooted in the same thing. And so I think also to anyone listening, it's like, take or leave what resonates with you, but trust I think the most beautiful thing with human design is I typically ask people, what have you been told is weird or wrong about you? And that's usually where their magic lies in their chart. And so it kind of sheds away conditioning from innocent humans that were told what they needed to do by someone else's limited perspective. And it kind of shatters that and lets you look at yourself in its most authentic way and just sit and it kind of, you're able to turn inward and let your body and your soul and your feelings navigate your life versus looking externally.
Yeah. So good. Okay, let's keep going. What are the 5 types?
Yes, so there are 2 energy types. There are generator and a manifesting generator.
Okay.
And then there are 3 non-energy types: manifestor, projector, and a reflector. So if you're an energy type, that just means that when you are doing something you love, you are generating more energy. So generators and manifesting generators, they are like a cell phone plugged into a wall outlet, charging through a wall outlet, to where reflectors, manifestors, and projectors, we're like a cell phone running out of battery. So once we're out, we're out. So a lot of projectors that are that come into my world, they are burnt out. They're burnt out. My wife's actually a projector as well. And it's nice because we just really prioritize napping and resting and recharging. And so those are the 5 main energy types that are in human design, and I think that's the best and first place to start. I'm dying to know.
If you had to guess, what do you think my type is, just based off of our first interaction?
So it's interesting. I can usually tell if I'm absorbing. You're gonna put me on the spot here. I can usually tell if I'm absorbing a generator's energy or a manifesting generator's energy. But I have been fooled by really grounded generators and manifesting generators that really take radical responsibility because those 2 types exude so much out that they can either lift up a room or they can suck the energy out of a room. So I can be tricked a little bit, but I'm getting some wise projector vibes from you.
Okay. So is there only one type that has the word manifesting in front of it?
There's 2 types. Are you a manifester?
I'm a manifestor something.
Oh, you're a manifesting generator.
Yes, because I don't think I'm a projector, because I heard you say manifesting projector, but I'm pretty sure I'm a generator. But
yep, so you're a
generator.
Apologies if I was confusing you. If I said manifestor, projector, reflector, those are 3 separate non-energy types.
Yeah.
But there is a type that combines manifestor and generator as a manifesting generator.
Yes.
So you could call it an MG. That's you? Oh my goodness. See,
tell me about myself.
Oh my goodness. Do you know what your profile is? Do you remember what your profile is?
So give me some examples of what they could be.
A profile could be 1, 3, 2, 4, 3, 5.
But I can pull it up.
Okay, so I can start with the manifesting generator. And I think the biggest deconditioning for manifesting generators is you're not supposed to master one thing for your entire life. You're supposed to kind of hop and bop all over the place, follow every single desire or peak of interest with 0 pressure to see it through fruition. Don't let the messaging within you say, the mantra is, I thrive when I follow every interest that I have. And it might not make sense. My business partner's husband, he's a manifesting generator. And when I met him 5 years ago, he was a barber. and now he's in app development. Like completely did a 180. And the whole thing is you're supposed to kind of wear multiple hats. You really are, you thrive the most when you wear multiple hats. And I
That's
think
so interesting because I have always been like a hopper, and it's been like I have a really hard time finishing projects. I have a really hard time being consistent. Self-regulation and discipline are like, which explains my desire for a constant self-improvement, because I'm always like, I gotta figure out how to crack this code, But to your point around saying what's wrong, I have always felt like that was what was wrong with me, was that like my follow-through was like super weak, because I'm always like inspired by so many things, and I'm like, oh, today I should be this, tomorrow I should be an author, tomorrow I should, open a kid store, like.
Yes, 100%.
Okay, so I found it. So I am, let's see. Oh, here we go. I am profile 2-4 hermit / opportunist.
Okay, perfect. So 2-4 MG, what is your authority?
Emotional solar plexus.
See, I knew it. You're a grounded emotional authority. You take radical responsibility for your emotions. Love it. Just means you're emotionally intelligent. Like I can very much pick up on that. And then just so this is like so applicable to like business and life for you when I'm talking to you, what the most bottom kind of root chakra, is that colored in or is that white in your body graph?
It's yellow.
It's colored in.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So being an emotional authority, the authority is how you decide things. The strategy for a manifesting generator is how you go after things. So a manifesting generator, you have to respond to something. So if you think of being inspired, you see something, you respond to it, and then you take action. My business partner is also a generator, and that's also responding. She works better if I give her a template or if I give her direction, something to respond to versus like, go do this. And she's like, what? Like, where do I start? So the strategy, when you're looking at your body graph, your energy type, like I said, with a manifesting generator, you are an energy being. And because you have that manifestor energy, you are able to kind of have an energy of initiating and bopping around. You're like the chronic entrepreneurs in like the best way. You wear so many different hats, and that's when you thrive. The strategy is to respond, like I said, how you go after things. And how you attract things, but not everything you attract or see is meant for you. So that's where your authority comes into play. Your authority is kind of what is sifting out what isn't meant for you. And it's a body response. So being an emotional authority, big decisions, you should wait 24 hours. So there might be scenarios where people want you to be more impulsive and quick with your decision making, or big decisions, like if you're moving to a new city or if you're taking on like a business partner. Give it 24 hours. The key with that is you're never going to be 100% for this or that. So don't allow yourself to spiral with thinking of all the ways why you should and all the ways why you shouldn't. Once you kind of get to an 80% of like of one or the other, that's when you should move. But being a manifesting generator, you have a defined sacral, which is the chakra one up from the root, and that is what controls our desires. So you can tap into your kind of gut reaction. Maybe that's probably what resonates the most in terms of wording it, of like, you'll know if you like something or not. Like a yes or, like it's a yes or no, this or that kind of like gut reaction of, oh yeah, I love that shirt. Nope, that is not for me type of feeling. Like sink into that feeling for like more small everyday decisions. And that's where you really turn inward with listening to your body for decision making.
Yeah.
Am I losing
like No, because I've read the report, so I'm kind of keeping up. But one of the things that stood out was, like you said, waiting 24 hours to make decisions. And I've always been a 5-minute decision maker, which has not always led to the greatest outcomes. And I live with a lot of moments of like, if you would have just given that a day, you know, or if you would have just trusted that it would work out. Like, I'm one of those people who I have hated, I hate that waiting, that unknown. And so I just try to like figure it out right then. The beauty of marriage, I guess, is that, you know, when we kind of have these balancing acts, my husband is more of a processor. So stuff that I'm like, let's just do it. He's like, let's just wait to the end of the week, you know? And so in my report, it came out and said like, it was some mantra around just, you know, like wait it out kind of thing. And that, it kind of made me irritated because I was just like, if I do that, life would probably be great, but it is like a struggle for me. So I'm curious, like once you got this information and you start applying it, right? So you said you quit your job because you have to have roles that are more responsive or you're responding to something. So mine is I have to take more initiative because I respond. I'm more like, just tell me what to do. But that's also not necessarily, I don't know, like it's just hard because like right now I'm running my business just off of referrals, but part of me feels like I should like go back outside and like be back in marketing because like that's what I did before. But part of me is like, well, you know, this has kept me like healthier. And so based on your experience, like how did you know how to start moving differently, especially when it came to building it out?
Yeah. First starting that I'm a non-energy being. Like for you, you create more energy. So pay attention, the word should. Pay attention to the word should. Because if you feel like you should go out and do marketing, but it is actually draining your energy versus lighting you up, like you probably could sit right now and think of activities within your business that you could like do and you lose track of time. Like, oh crap, I'm late for this meeting because you are so in it. And parts of your business that you're like, oh, I have to do that. I should do that. And it's almost like an energy sucker. So for you, pay attention to what charges your energy and what depletes your energy. And that's a good indicator of, do I need to outsource? Is this a conditioned should I have to do this in order to achieve success? And tune into that. For me, I'm a non-energy type. So I knew I needed a lot of support. As a projector, I'm not supposed to be doing any of the doing. Our gift is really seeing and guiding. So all of my client work, I have contractors underneath me that do like the doing, like pulling the reports, pitching media, and I oversee, I counsel, we brainstorm, I help guide things. And so that's where I knew my magic lied, and I knew I needed to create a business that supported that. So as a projector, if you're a new entrepreneur, it should definitely be one of your like a priority, I should say, to start figuring out where are areas of support that you can get to take you out of the doing, because that's where you turn into like the 9-hour work days and you just get burnt out.
Yeah. Okay. So you came in, and when you were having to hire contractors, was that considered part of your doing, or?
That's a very good question. So as a projector, non-energy, and then my strategy, so your strategy is to respond. You see something and you can go after it. My strategy is to wait for the
invitation. Mine says wait to respond.
Yes, so respond.
Oh, okay.
So
got it. The strategy is the opposite. Okay, got it.
Yeah, all good. And I think, mine's wait for the invitation. And I think the difference between that is you could be at brunch with your girlfriends and she's talking about fighting with her boyfriend, or a client that's being harder than normal. You're responding to her sharing that information. You can give your 2 cents. If I'm sitting at that table, she needs to specifically ask me, how do you feel about this? Because when a projector projects their opinion or projects their offer onto people without that ask, without being invited, it's like running into a wall or someone slamming a door in your face. That's not the correct energy exchange. And I feel like everyone has,
or for the person receiving, or both?
Both. Okay. Specifically for me, I think it harms and affects it's for me. Like, that's not the way that I'm doing a disservice to people that I should be serving by not attracting who I'm meant to work with, by having doors closed in my face, theoretically. So in my business, I knew I needed an energy type. So my very first full-time hire was a generator. She happened to be my best friend of over 16 years. And she asked me, she wasn't happy in her private, she was an executive assistant at a private equity firm. I've known her for so long. We've lived together. We had this partnership and trust. And she came to me and asked me, you know, do you need help? I see you getting busier. So that was my invite to hire her. That's a really good example of how that just very organically happened.
Okay. So help me. You got all that. So, okay. So if we had that same example where I feel like for me, I know my zone of genius in the sense of I love creating, right? So I love to write. I love to do interviews. I love to coach. Like, those are the three main things that I like to do in my business. Like, actually interact. It could be one-on-one, it could be group, it could be in front of a crowd, but I like to coach. And then I like to kind of go in my hole, because I do recharge alone, right? So I'm like this social introvert where it's like, I've always been kind of like in front, flashy lights kind of speaker, right? My whole life, but I don't get my energy from people. Like, I get my energy from like being alone, right? So like when I'm alone, I read a lot. I listen to books and podcasts 24/7, sometimes probably too much, right? So those are the things that I like to do. So in my business, the things that need to get done, you know, are more what I guess like a project manager or like a COO would do, right? So it's like, if I have this great idea for a coaching program that I want to do, the problem is like, who's going to create the funnel? Like, who's going to create the social assets? So what complements my personality? And do you feel like, just based off of what I've said I like to do, that aligns with my type?
Yeah. Okay. I was like, so I was dying to start talking, because you are already operating and you know yourself. You literally just described your 2-4 profile.
Okay.
And the profile, the first number is how you see yourself. So you see yourself as an introvert, you recharge. That's the 2, that's the hermit. You have to come back to yourself and recharge. And the 4 is how other people see you. And the 4, it's all about quality connections. You're, so in looking at your profile in your business, I would say one-on-one and quality versus quantity will definitely serve a 4 line the best. Like, people are really going to value you and see you, but there's a weird kind of pressure to always have to be social. And I think you feel really solid in this, but there can be people pleasing tendencies with those that might not be as tapped into, like, you know, alone time is safe. I need alone time, versus if I don't hang out with my friends, I'm going to leave them. Like, being alone and not, you know, saying no to plans is not safe. So you're spot on with that. In terms of the operations and the logistics, generators, they are here to master one thing. They are the juiciest energy. You give them a long to-do list and they literally become an Energizer bunny checking off the to-do list. And the to-do list is something for them to respond to. So I think for you, it's like staying in that zone of genius. You need to have kind of like this flowy spaciousness to bop around, to have ideas, because you can't get too much into the weeds of the creation. That's meant for generators. The majority of the population is made up of generators. And that makes sense. I mean, dating back to the 1800s when we're building buildings, like we needed energy to build, build a society. And
so I'm a manifesting generator, and I need a generator.
That would be my recommendation. Like if you're looking for support, back end support of just the doing, the setting up, the kind of handing off, go create this, go do this. A generator is the best type for that. Okay. If you're looking
what's the difference between the manifesting generator and the generator?
Yeah, so the generator is very, I don't want to say linear, but they are here to master. They're kind of the conditioned messaging. There's a reason why we are told we need to do one thing and master it. It's because the majority of the population are generators, and they are supposed to master one thing and supposed to be lit up. And when they're doing that one thing and they feel like they've mastered it, they create more energy and they can go, go, go. And so a generator is a great engine for a business. A really good engine for a business is probably how, and being a non-energy type, I value any energy coming from anyone, but a manifesting generator, so you have the generator side of you're an energy type. And you can master something. So you might bop around, but you might feel like you get bored really quickly because you've mastered it and you're on to the next, right? The other half is the manifester. The manifester is the only type that doesn't need anyone or anything else to do something. They are if you think of a business structure, they're the inventors. They come up with the idea out of nowhere. They don't need to respond. They don't need to wait for an invitation. They don't need anything. My dad's a manifester, and he started a Japanese taiko percussion group in a small town in Minnesota. Only a manifester could do that. And so
I always say that, like, if I could, my dream job would literally to be just a hub of ideas. Like, hey, come to me, tell me about yourself. Like somebody could literally come to me and tell me, like, this is what I like to do. This is what brings me alive. And in doing this, I can create an entire business for them. But then I'm like, but you got to go do it because I can't do it.
That is so aligned with you of like, here's my zone of genius. Here's all the areas that you can do and go and tap into like the creation, the idea mode of being a manifester, and then releasing the doing to your clients. Something with the manifestors is inspo kind of comes in spurts, like jolts. So it might that like create, and maybe more so within your own business, it's okay if it's, you have a week where you're like, oh my gosh, I was so inspired. I have to go, 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 go. And then you have to kind of retreat a little bit and just like go with the flow and total like autopilot to hermit mode.
Yeah, so that's me. Like I have true jolts. Most times it comes at nighttime and my husband is like, another idea. I'm like, I gotta write it down, So, okay, let's talk about I guess when you're working with your clients, right? Because I think that a lot of your business model is very much in line with how I work one-on-one with clients with my idea or the concept of this whole woman approach, right? So it's thinking about, similar to how you said initially, you had gone through this really bad breakup, which impacted all of these other areas, and traditionally we're taught, hey, compartmentalize your life, stuff it down. Still, you dealt with this meltdown from your toddler this morning, but you're supposed to show up at work like nothing happened, even though they just sucked all of the energy out of you. And so, in my program, it's really about understanding like these different parts of you that make up you, right? It is just this one person. And in that, creating alignment and lifestyles and jobs and businesses that reflect your energy type without me knowing the energy type. And so when you are working with PR agencies or affiliate PR, which I still don't know what that is, what is that? How do you kind of come in and use this dynamic approach to kind of coach them or consult them?
Yeah. There are areas in a chart that I'll look at that I'm like, okay. I think knowing someone's human design chart just gives more awareness on how to work with them the best.
Okay.
So the thing with the word that I can't get out of my head for you is freedom. You need to feel free in your business.
Always.
You need to feel, because yeah, you're going, yes, husband, I do have another idea and I'll have another one tomorrow and probably the next day and the next day. That is your genius. And it's, again, it's just kind of, I find that people just feel seen for how they've always felt in themselves. But going back to your original question, if I have my client's chart, and I asked you if your root chakra was defined. If it's defined, it means that it's a pressure system. Mine's also defined. Procrastination is actually a positive thing for us, and we have to work on deadlines. You give a defined root a project with no deadline, they're never going to do it.
Never.
Because I have to have a deadline, because I have to have that pressure of I have an hour to get it done. And so that procrastination actually makes us more focused and efficient with our output of time. So I know if I'm working with a client that's a defined root, deadline for everything. I know if I'm working with a client who's a projector, I'm not going to ask her to connect me with another team member. I'm going to alleviate kind of the extra doing and energy output on her end and leave her to the zone of genius of looking at all of the different marketing channels and allowing her to give me her view and guidance of how what I'm doing serves the overall business strategy and objectives for her client. So another thing that I love are the arrows. So if you're looking at a body graph, there's 4 arrows at the top. Can you tell me what direction each arrow faces, starting with the left, the top left?
So meaning under the design?
So are you seeing a body chart?
Oh yeah, well, kind of. This is, I don't know if they all look the same, but this is what I'm looking at.
Oh, you don't have the arrows. Oh, interesting.
Now it does have arrows like in the actual like number side.
Okay. Well, I'll just explain what the 4 arrows are, and then I'll look up your arrows after this, and we can do a little follow-up chat.
Is this an arrow too? Sorry, this one does have, I don't know if those are arrows. No, those are like triangles.
That's okay. All good. There are typically 2 arrows next to either side of the head part of the body graph. Okay. And the top left arrow reflects your schedule. So if it's facing left, it's a more fixed schedule. You operate the best with a consistent schedule, an 8 to 5. My meetings are on Tuesdays. I end my day at 5 p.m. If your arrow's facing right, you have more flow in your schedule. This was huge for me when I became an entrepreneur. Mine faces right. I'll start work at 7 a.m. one day. I'll start work at 1 p.m. one day. I'll start work at 5:30 p.m. Like, I allow myself to flow with how I work. Obviously, I have like calendar meetings and stuff like this, but I release the need to have to work in conventional like working hours. The bottom left is your environment. So if it's facing left, you love a consistent environment. Like, you have your working desk and you work here. If it's facing right, you can kind of flow around the house. And so, circling back to your original question of working with clients, knowing how their schedules work, I want to respect boundaries. If they're done working at 5 p.m. or if they are kind of flowy and I get a Voxer at like 8:30 p.m. and I have the energy to respond, I'm like, okay, we're flowing within their flexible schedule. Right. And then the right arrows, the top right is how you take in information. So if it's facing left, that's it. Like, conventional school is catered to you. You look at an alphabet and you're like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and your brain kind of takes it in that way. If it faces right, like me, conventional school may have felt a bit harder because I'll look at an alphabet and I'll be like, B could go with O, and X and Y look really cool, and we could loop in C. It's like you take in fragmented information. So that's where when I read a book, I'll literally just bop around the book and pull what I'm pulled to pull. Mm-hmm. And then the bottom right arrow is how you manifest. So this is interesting. And if it's facing left, you are a specific manifester, so focusing more on the details of things. Mm-hmm. If it faces right, release the need to know the details and manifest with how you want to feel. Think about how you want to feel. And my wife is a non-specific and I'm a specific, and it's interesting to play with both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can imagine. So when you if someone is listening and they're like, okay, I want to get my reading, is this something that you encourage people to look at daily, weekly? Like, how long does it take to really understand how to use and apply this stuff?
The first step is definitely to book a one-on-one reading with a chart reader. I feel like it can be hard to conceptualize what you're reading online.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I was like, this is very intense. And I'm used to kind of assessments.
Totally. And so I think, the readings that I have just really applied it. It was very applicable. I was able to look at an arrow and give an example or ask them questions about their lives. Do you force yourself to work between these hours? Maybe try releasing that and see how you feel, right? And so it can really pull out specifics and make it more applicable to your life. So I would say book a one-on-one chart reading with a human design reader. Hannah, my business partner, she does all of our chart readings. So she will go through and really break it down for someone that's literally has never looked at their body chart. And then I think there is a transition of learning the knowledge that's important to you and really understanding it, and now operating it and applying it into your everyday life. That's kind of my zone of genius and what I love doing the most, because it's in the smallest decisions that I make every day. It's not big decisions. I've had big disruptive moments in my life, but they're very almost soft whispers of doing something different. It's almost like, show me a new way. There's an internal voice in me that's like, show me a new way and let's see how this goes. And so I think it's the everyday looking at what areas of your life feel hard or sticky or drain your energy. And that's typically where we can look at, okay, what may not be lining up with how you're working and operating, and what your human design chart is sharing with us on how you're supposed to be operating.
Interesting. It's so similar to the things that I do, but without a clear guide. More so the things that I do with my clients, I almost I'm having their body tell them, and then I help them determine what the body is trying to say, right? But this kind of gives that visual. Yeah. So something that stood out to me, number one, I love your website, so aesthetically pleasing. But it's almost it has these two divisions, right? So it's PR and then human design. So I'm curious, what made you not just separate the two? Say hey, I'm a human design, coach or reader, and then here's my PR business. Because I was just oh, that's interesting that she has the two things. And then I still want to know what affiliate PR is.
I'm an Aries sun and a Libra moon, and that may resonate with some people and it may not, but I felt I've had almost two sides of me. I'm very masculine, Aries, fiery, do PR, affiliate PR, put me in a room with all men CEOs and I can show up and I can speak. I can, embody that, but I'm also a healer. I'm a Reiki practitioner. I'm an animal communicator. I'm an intuitive channeled, download. I feel a very feminine connection to energy. And so I've always thought that they couldn't coexist. I had to choose one or the other. And I had this moment of how I'm running my business through energy. It's a very feminine way that healed my trauma in this industry. So I feel like I'm almost being the example that I wish I had of a new way of doing PR, and kind of showing that like this career can be really abundant, really easy, healthy, and it can be collaborative and community based. And I didn't want to be put into a box. I actually changed the domain to be KMO World. I'm a rising Sagittarius, so I kind of operate in an MG way from a business standpoint. I have ideas all the time. So I'm like, who knows what I'll create next? And so I wanted my website to serve both, but also kind of have the energy of like a teenager's bedroom where it's like everything you love is there.
Yeah, I rock with those vibes. I feel like our energy definitely are aligned. So I'm a Taurus sun, Aries moon, Libra rising. So like there's a lot of similarities there for sure. But you know, I have never like I've gone through the typical American plan of like a type A person, right? So meaning like, you know, business major, from there, like went into finance, Wall Street, and like every career, you know, everybody in the room is like boom, 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 fast paced, let's get it done. And I was there because I was told like this is where they pay the most, this is where all of the top students go. But as soon as I got there, it was very apparent that like your drive is not my drive. Like I'm inspired by the humans behind the clients and the businesses who have come up with these portfolios that I think are incredible. But the pace at which you're working, we're not curing cancer. So why are y'all killing yourselves? You know? And so it was just like, I remember there was one particular day where the global head of equities, who just, he loved me. He had me host some high schoolers to come and like tour the trading floor. And so I basically planned a day of essentially like a career day within the bank, right? Got all like different top leaders to come and talk to these kids and, you know, prepared lunches. And everybody was like, Alena, like, this is your thing. Like, you were so good. Like, you were speaking and introducing these people. And I was so offended because I was like, no, like, don't try to make me like the soft marketing event planner. Like, I'm a hardcore banker, you know?
That's your Aries moon coming out right there.
And so I was like so frustrated, but it was apparent that because I naturally thrived in the space, they could see it, but I was resisting it, you know, because I wanted to compete with the big dogs and I wanted my check, right? But it's like looking back, there were so many signs that like my initial career and what I was trying to force was just never going to work. It was just never going to work. I don't even like to, my last 2 months of working at my corporate career, like I literally was an hour late every day and did not care. And came in like hot pink lipstick and like long nails. And my manager was just looking at me like, you just don't give a fuck, do you? And I'm just like, no. Like I will go and be a restaurant server for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, your rising signs is a Cancer, correct?
No, it's Libra.
Libra. Okay. Then that makes sense. What you do, you love harmony. You love creating that balance for people. They say, you know, in astrology, like how you show up for career is more so like your rising sign. And so that's where I kind of give myself permission as a Sagittarius to operate in this kind of MG energy of bopping all over the place. I need to feel adventurous. And for you as a Libra, it's really creating that community and harmony and balance within whoever you're working with and empowering them to feel this like, I don't know, just peace.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Like I have my initial clients are just knocking in their 2-year mark of coaching. And when they first came to me, they were like very much like, let's get my business off the ground. Let's hit these financial milestones. And I just had a session with one last night and everything was like, I just want to enjoy my life. Like I built up like this. She's so zen. She was like, what have you done to me? I was like, this is so beautiful. She was like, everything I did in my 20s, I'm now able to enjoy fully and I don't want to miss out on this, right? And she's like, I got this from coaching. And so to me, that is like that transformation that I love to see. It's like when we think about our values, it's not $1 million revenue when you the first thing. It's like I want to be present with myself, my kids, my husband, whoever, right? And I love to create like that awareness. And so this is definitely speaking my language. And I love that you allow your personality to show up, because that's something that I struggle with a lot when it comes to marketing my business is people don't really, especially in the Black community, don't hire life coaches. Like we're just now starting to go to therapy. Right? So it's like, oh, I need a therapist and a life coach. No, like I'll just hire a business coach, somebody that can make me rich, right? And so a lot of the language that I put on my site is my effort to find buzzwords that I think people think they need, right? Like productivity, work-life balance. But on the inside, it's like all of like the gooey, yummy stuff that I know you really need. But when I first came to market, I was using all of the gooey words and nobody was looking. And then as soon as I made it a little bit harder, more type A, they're like, oh yeah, I definitely need a productivity coach. So it's just been.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Well, and I think that kind of pairs with the like always being aware of what your clients need and why they need it. What they need is productivity. So that's where the words you're weaving in what they need and why they need it. But I would say the output, the how you do it. So the how you show up on social media, the how many times you show up on social media. If you show up on social media at all, the how is the internal job. And kind of allowing yourself to, if you feel like you should post something because you have to, take a step back and just be like, okay, like just question that a little bit. But the what and the why, the content of it, that makes sense. The content needs to speak, but it's how we deliver. It's our energy deliverance is I think what we can look at human design for.
Yeah, so good. Well, this has been enlightening. We are going to have you back to dig in. Yeah. I'm going to be booking my reading so that I always like to practice what I preach in terms of like, just try it, And before I let you go, what is affiliate?
You took that out of my mouth. I was like, she gonna kill me if I don't say what affiliate PR is. Okay. Affiliate marketing is very old school marketing. It's getting paid a commission for a sale that you drive. So think it's evolved with social media influencers. If an influencer is using a swipe up code or a promo code, it could be trackable within an affiliate program to where they're getting a percentage of the sales that their post and promo efforts are driving. Pairing that in the PR world, if we think of magazines, no one's buying physical magazines anymore. And so publishing groups that publish like the Vogues, the GQs of the world, they need money and they know they have a very engaged readership online. So when I pitch my clients for articles, like you likely click on an affiliate link all the time and don't know it. If you like Google the best high-waisted swimsuits for 2022. I'm always looking for the best high-waisted swimsuits. They say they're high-waisted, but they're not. But you Google that and an article appears and you go on Vogue and Vogue is sharing 20 different swimsuit brands for you to consider. If you click on one of the brands' link and go back to their website, that's an affiliate link. So if you then click for Vogue, so if you click on that link, and you end up buying something within 30 days, Vogue gets like 20% of your sale.
Okay.
So that's kind of where the two mirror each other. And I was just at the right place at the right time. And that's just a whole other area of now PR efforts are trackable in terms of how much revenue an article that you secure for a client generates. So it completely shifts the energy of like, we are your moneymaker versus I can't really show what this article actually does for your business, but can you, that low worth trying to defend the channel to a brand.
So on the PR side, you're representing the Vogues of the world to get partnerships with brands to put in the article?
My clients are direct to consumer brands, and I pitch their product to get included in articles.
Got it. Okay. Okay. So how does the human design come into that?
It doesn't really. I just operate my business based off of my own chart, and I've experienced so much ease and success. Like, I don't know any other PR professional or PR agency owner that is talking about their revenue or that is scaling client retainers through a rev share retainer. I know agencies that lock in clients for a year out of fear of losing them to have guaranteed, revenue in their business. And so it kind of was just like, wow, like doing this really helped heal my PR career and my relationship to my PR career. So if it worked for me, then I was just really inspired to become a reader and help any entrepreneur or PR professional. I think entrepreneur in general that is called to learn more and is interested, and I can kind of share what's worked for me and look at their chart and help guide them if they desire.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. I got it. I got the connection. I have a history of affiliate marketing, but as an affiliate. So like I talk about products all the time. And so when I saw it, I wasn't really sure what the PR side of it was, but yeah, it totally makes sense. And so, yeah, that's something else we'll have to talk about because I'm always trying to weave in, like, I'm a natural storyteller, right? So when I tell stories like, oh my God, this is going to be another shameless plug. Make sure you use my Amazon link anyway. But I'm like, oh my God, this book is like changing my life, right? Then it's going to be 20 purchases of the book. But it won't just be me selling it. It really is like, oh, this book, And so I'm always trying to figure out, again, to your point, there's so many different lanes that I feel like I'm good at. How do I like weave them all in where it doesn't overconsume me? Because when I feel like I'm working too hard, then that's when I become unhappy, right? So it's like, I like to work, but not like I like to work in spurts. Like I can work, for a week and then I'm gonna take like 3 weeks off.
That is so perfect for the manifesto side of your design. I think me at a core, I want to disrupt conditioning and expand perspectives. That's like my tagline in my brain. Like I'm supposed to be instinctual. Kind of my decision making is opposite than yours if you're looking at our charts. And so I'm supposed to operate in I shock a lot of people with how I operate because it goes, they haven't seen it before, or it's very like, I'll fire a client because it feels icky. And that's the only reason. Right. And they'll be kind of scratching their heads. I'm like, ooh, I got to cleanse this energy. And it's just not for me. Yeah. So that to the core is probably my wrap a bow around it.
Yeah. So complex, but so beautiful. I love it.
Thank you.
If people want to keep in touch, where can they find you? How can they get their readings done?
Yeah, kmoworld.org. Everything's there. As you said, there's everything from, affiliate PR services to human design to a Wooniverse and all of our recommendations. Mm-hmm. And then on Instagram, it's camo.hd is the human design side. Just shoot us a DM and we're good. Or on the consulting side, it's camo.consulting.
Okay. All right. Well, y'all go check her out. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Make sure you click and like that button, subscribe as always, and we will see you. Bye.